Good morning, folks. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining this morning. I am very excited to introduce to you 4 entrepreneurs that will be sharing their story, telling us what they're up to, and we'll be exploring together how we might be able to help them. My son will be here alongside to bring the real wisdom to the whole experience. And so say good morning, Aiden.
Good morning.
You got to say good morning, Aiden. Oh, that got you. He's coming up to 3, so, still figuring these things out, aren't you? He's a lot smarter than me, so having him here will definitely help us this morning. Now, Aiden, actually, if you want to play with something, you could play with this. Do you want to play with this? You could play with this notepad that you can type in. You want to type in here?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you sit here and help me and type that, okay? All right. And you need to type up something really smart to help our founders this morning, okay? Okay, so just before we go live with the first guest who's waiting here to say hello to everybody, I just want to mention that I have a fantastic interview at 10 a.m. London time going live on Thursday on Spotify, Apple Music, and here on YouTube and our social channels with Girish Junjunwala. He is a fantastic entrepreneur. He started out with building a company selling watches. At one point, he was doing 500,000 watches a month in sales and manufacturing in China and built up an empire. He then sold that business and started buying property and now owns one of the most successful boutique hotels called Overlook Hotels in Hong Kong and Australia. He'll be coming on Thursday morning to share his story about how he did it, his entrepreneurial upbringing, and how he feels entrepreneurs are able to be bred. They do not have to be born. So we'll be discussing with him how he built his empire, what matters to him. I think you'll find the insights both inspiring and useful. I hope that you can join 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube will be live. You'll be able to speak to Girish directly and ask him questions about how he did it and his thoughts on business. And I hope that you guys are able to join for that broadcast. Chris Klein was my guest this week, one of the most successful creative directors in the world. His story about being coming from being a bricklayer to being one of the most sought after creative agencies in the world is inspiring. I think you'd find his podcast also very interesting. You can listen to that via goodluckpod.com. And I absolutely suggest that you do. Of course, I would, because I did the interview, but I genuinely think anyone out there that's thinking of starting a business might get inspired. And anyone with a present business will not feel alone when you hear the stories of what it's been like for him to build his business. So please do try to join. So I'm going to bring on our first guest, and my son is making notes. So I think we're getting there with the notes. Very good, Aiden. Very good. So this is the first time I've tried the live sharing screen function. Let's hope it all works.
Hello.
Morning, Justin. How are you?
Good morning, Simon. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, you?
Good. Yes. Is Matt your partner in crime on this?
No, I'm on my own.
Oh, you're on your own. Okay, I think maybe Matt's next up. So,
Yes.
Justin, good to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Simon. Yeah, very well. How are you and Aiden?
Yeah, we're good. Aiden's doing a business plan right now, and it makes a lot of sense to him. I think that's a lot of entrepreneurs. It makes sense to us. You broke it?
Yeah.
You haven't broken the internet. You're not Kim Kardashian. It's not nothing to worry about. It's not broken, my little friend. There you go, buddy. You can type in again, okay? Sorry, Justin. So
I think it's brilliant that you've got him with you.
Yeah, well, working from home, you got to include them. He actually loves it. He's always telling me to do more podcasts, is how he puts it. So it might be a whole new brand right there.
Love it. I love it. I ran a webinar recently, Simon, on mastering remote selling, and my daughter did the polls, but my daughter's 22, so
a
little bit different.
That's a useful talent right there,
Yes.
Family interns. That's what we all need.
Absolutely. Listen, thanks for having me on this morning, Simon. I really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Tell us what's going on with you and how we might be able to help.
Yeah, so my business, I run a business called Focus for Growth. I set it up about 3 years ago, having had 25 years in the corporate sector, selling, strategic account management, leading sales and business teams, and then realized that actually I wanted to do something for myself and really explore my own entrepreneurial spirit. So set my business up, retrained as an executive coach. I've got some really good clients. I've been working with some great companies. So I kind of focus on the B2B marketplace, sales leadership, business leadership, and inevitably what comes with that is a request to work with sales and business teams as well. So I've really expanded my offering to clients. And during lockdown, things quietened down for me. I had a bit more time on my hands. So I thought, actually, why don't I take some of the programs I've been delivering to clients and put them online? So I've built what I believe is a really comprehensive and quite impactful sales and business development training program. So it's training and coaching. It's a 21-day modular program. I've had about 70 people go through it in a beta phase and give me feedback. So I've refined it and amended it. And I think it's in a really good place. And I'm starting to build my plans for launch, which is kind of imminent. I've been reaching out to my network, had a really positive response. But I saw you on a recent interview with a good friend of mine, Alex Hughes, and thought it would be great to reach out to you and to your community to see what advice you might have for people launching something like this. I've not done anything in the online space before. A lot of my work has been kind of face-to-face or team in-person events. So I'm really interested to get a different perspective from you and the community on what they might, I guess, prompt me to consider as I build my launch plans and take this program out into the market.
Yeah, fascinating, Justin, and thanks for sharing your story. Just to shout out to my community, if you have any comments or thoughts for Justin, feel free to throw them in, and I will share them. Justin, I think with this sort of thing, I mean, I built a digital agency in 2001 called Fluid, which in 2016 I sold to PwC. And I remember at the time when we were launching a digital agency, a lot of people back then, it was just after the .com. So everyone was an expert, but everyone had failed. And so I find with online, it's kind of similar today. That anyone that says they're an expert isn't, because literally yesterday, Google changed its algorithm. And so everyone that was an expert the day before yesterday, today is not. So I think with online, there's so much advice out there and so many books about it. And, the truth is with like getting an audience, for example, even for me, I'm a marketing veteran from the age of 15, and I started working at 15 and marketing my business. And I've been practicing ever since, and I'm still not that good at it. And I think it's just, for me, it's a question of just consistency and persistence. And I think value eventually does break through. But often you've got to keep adapting that value, adding value. I mean, my favorite thing is still customer referral. As old school as it sounds, we all want it to go viral, whatever that means. But ultimately, I think, I believe in the one-by-one approach, and eventually it's 1 + 1, and then it's 1 + 1 + 1. And so you get 111 by just looking after 3,
Yes.
And
yes.
So I might have to trademark that saying. I think I've heard that before. So, but my point I'm ultimately trying to make here is that I think if you've got a good product, it is just a question of testing out the different platforms. For example, I've been going quite crazy on TikTok for fun. And I now have 30,000 followers, and I'm somehow considered an influencer. And I would never describe myself as an influencer. I'm a business person, and does best helping other business people. But it's interesting just playing around with these things, even different tones, different approaches, same message said in a different way. And I haven't seen your material, so maybe send me over and I have a look. But I think one of the mistakes I do see people make is they have the same message when trying to market something, instead of testing out which message is going to get the point across to the demographic you want to reach. So sometimes just shouting, "This is what we do, this is what we do," puts people off. But if you're able to figure out a way to understand the demographic you're talking to and what really matters to them, as opposed to selling what matters to you, and working backwards that way, this is said all the time, but every tech company really, what they say they're doing is customer-centric build. So they're listening to what their customers want and they're building it. But Henry Ford used to say, if I asked my customers what they want, they would have said a faster horse.
Yes.
So it's always those back and forths, I think, between what you think the market wants and testing it out, and then listening to what the market wants or thinks they want, listen to that need, try to service it, but over time build it into what you think they need, which could be what you're doing. I don't know if any of that helps, but that's my quick thoughts. Is there anything else you want to share with me that might, any other questions I might be able to help you with?
No, that's good. It's interesting because I have similar conversations with my own clients. The power of referrals, when you've got somebody that already appreciates your value, understands the impact that you're making, they are your best source of testimonial referral. And it's interesting because I've done that a lot with my existing clients, and that is my first route with the launch. So I'm glad I'm on the right track. Yeah. I guess I'm also thinking there's a lot of businesses out there that as we come through this pandemic situation, they find themselves going back into the marketplace. I'm presuming that one of the things they're going to want to do is upskill their teams, make sure that everybody is absolutely confident and capable when it comes to selling and influencing. So I'm hoping that I'm on a growth curve and ahead of it with an online program that enables people to access it and get the support they need. That's the plan.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like a good plan. I think there is an upskilling requirement. I don't think it's just with companies, though. I think it's with individuals, because a lot of people will furlough 9 million people. I mean, the projection is that 3 million of those haven't got a job anymore.
Yeah.
So that upskilling requirement, I mean, that's part of my personal mission too. I want to help 1 million people start a business of their own, because I don't think anyone should be working for anyone anymore. There's no need. And so, so I think upskilling in all sorts of areas, you're absolutely on the right track, if you ask me. That's definitely a big need. I think personally, that relying on corporates to pay for that in any way is a way off. But individuals definitely, I think, are looking for ways to reskill themselves. And there's a lot of self-reflection, I think, during the coronavirus lockdown. A lot of people in jobs they didn't like, and they're trying to figure out what they actually do like. So I definitely think you've got something with your idea. Yeah,
I agree with that as well, Simon. You're absolutely right. It's not just about the corporation or the team; it's about the individual person. Absolutely, yeah. That's really. Well, last thing, Simon. I also have a personal connection with you. My brother was at school with you because I'm based in St. Neots.
Wow, that is amazing. I left school and left home at 15, so to me that's a whole other life. And
yeah, maybe one lifetime ago.
Who was it? Remind me.
Paul Leigh.
Paul Leigh, right? Okay, I think that rings a bell. My 15-year-old brain's trying to wake up. But wow, okay, yeah, I need to come and visit. I've been promising Alex and the community I'll try and come and say hello and check back in. I've been around the world 3 times, living wise. So I've got a lot of stories to tell that I'd love to connect with my friends back in St. Neots. So that's very nice to hear that, Justin. Thank you.
Well, he asked me to pass you his best regards and remember you to him. So I shall do that as well. Great.
A new Facebook friend. I'll have to make sure I don't think he's my Facebook friend, come to think of it. So I'll have to reconnect. But thank you for that, Justin. Well, look, good luck with your business. If you send me links in the broadcast, I'll put all the links to your business in the bottom of the broadcast. Anyone interested in what you're doing and anyone that thinks they can help
with
what you're doing, they'll be able to grab the links and have a look. Let's have a more detailed chat, maybe offline, and see if there's anything else I can do to help you. But it's nice to hear what you're doing and share your story with my community. So thanks.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for all the work you're doing. It's really appreciated.
Oh, pleasure. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, Justin. I'm sure you know it, but doing free is so rewarding. People always, I think, misunderstand free. They say if it's free, it's not valued. That's the saying floats around. I don't agree. No. I think there's a lot of, if you help 100 people for free, that's a lot of referrals potentially. And they could be your best sales and marketing people in the world if you bring value. I'm not selling anything. I do have a book coming out at the end of the year, but I think it'll sell itself. I'm not selling anything. I actually generally just like helping people like you. But I have to say, I don't know what your view is on free, but I think it's really valuable.
No, I agree with you. It gives people that opportunity to experience the value rather than just be told about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm experimenting with a new bit of software here, so I'm going to remove you, which sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? And bring on my next guest. So hopefully it's not offensive when I remove you, whatever that means. On this.
Not at all. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Simon.
Likewise. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Take care.
Hi, Matt.
Hello, it is me.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Simon. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Is Eddie with you? So I'm going to be asking this all morning. Eddie's
Yes,
with
Eddie's my co-founder. Yeah.
you? Okay, I'm going to bring him on too. Hopefully, I've not done this with two people before. Hopefully, it works. One sec. Hey,
Hi.
Eddie.
Hi, Simon. Good
How are you?
morning. Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, really good. Yeah, I'm trying out some new technology this morning. So so far so good. I'm pretty excited. It's all working. But nice to see you guys. Thanks very much for coming on. Really keen to hear your story and how myself and my community might be able to support you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so me and Eddie are, as I said, co-founders of Fussy. We're a new personal care brand, and our kind of purpose, I guess, is to try and make sustainable living kind of part of your morning routine. So something really easy. We're both advertising creatives by background, and we kind of noticed the amount of single-use plastic that we were, well, I guess, selling to people, and that was getting thrown away every year, and thought there's kind of got to be a better way than all these products just wrapped in single use. So we started with deodorant. So we're basically bringing to market a refillable deodorant on a D2C model, and we've got it a certain. We've kind of bootstrapped it up to this point now, which is where we've got this beautiful product that we want to launch, and it's really, I guess, we're kind of looking for some advice on how we get over that next hurdle of getting in some investment. Once we've kind of exhausted friends, family, and fools, start speaking to angels and kind of any advice on kind of how we get this thing out there, I suppose. Is that right, Eddie? Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys look like the brand, by the way. And between the two of you, you've got the basic on the.
He's got the lockdown look. I've got to get rid of this hair and the moustache.
I don't know if you guys know, I had a creative agency for 15 years called Fluid, which I PwC in 2016. So I always have a love for working with creative people. So it sounds like a really good idea. And I totally agree with the plastic use issue. And I feel like, surprisingly, it's still not really been addressed within that marketplace. So I totally see the opportunity and the need for a business with a conscience like that in that space. So that's awesome. Are you guys both full-time on this now?
So we're 3 days a week at the agency now. COVID's kind of played into, it's kind of helped us a bit, really. So we've cut down our hours, and then all weekends, all evenings, and all mornings are on Fussy. Yeah, our wages are basically helping support Fussy at the moment. Yeah,
which you know, it is a great way to migrate, I guess, into this. Have you guys raised money before or been involved in any of that process?
No, we're completely new to this. Yeah, we're looking at maybe a crowdfunding platform as well, but that's another avenue.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, I was going to mention that, but what's your view on crowdfunding?
So I think, so we're kind of planning a crowdfunding campaign, and we've spoken to a lot of really successful ones, but it seems that, so this is kind of Kickstarter rather than equity funding. And I guess it seems that the most successful ones are actually kind of, they're funded. Do you know what I mean? Like the people have spent money to kind of make money. So I guess that's one of our questions we had, actually, is like, when we're speaking to investors, is it off-putting for them to invest for some of that to go towards a Kickstarter campaign, or would that be something that investors would be like, well, no, I'll wait till you finish your Kickstarter campaign, thanks very much, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the platform, but each pocket of investors have different requirements. I mean, for example, a lot of investors like it if you've done a crowdfunding campaign and proved, you know, that there's a market for what you're offering. Of course, there will be other people that will argue that having a crowdfunding campaign can be detrimental to a business in the early days, because what you really want is value-add investors, people that can bring, for example, distribution partnerships or manufacturing support, for example. And so there's lots of trains of thought. I've invested in 66 startups. I've just invested in my 66th company, and I basically have seen every sort of structure there is. And the bottom line is, everyone says there's a formula, and there isn't.
Right.
I think a lot of it for me is about what works for you guys. I personally do really like crowdfunding. I think from, especially in your space where you've got a product offering, I think it does help. The risk is that I mean, of course, it's the fear kicking in. The risk is you launch it and it doesn't get traction, and that can be detrimental both from a do clients want it perspective, all the way through to investors then saying, well, you did a crowdfunding campaign and it didn't work. So what does that mean, right? So that kind of, but I don't know. My instinct on this is, with your background as creatives, I mean, a crowdfunding campaign really kind of should work, should be a great fit. And, you should be able to do it in your sleep. That being said, I mean, there's so many ways to raise money these days. I can say this as an investor myself. What I always say to people before I invest is that, are you sure you really need me? And it's not, I don't want the investment, and I don't necessarily, I want to make money, right? I mean, everyone needs to pay the bills, but ultimately, sometimes having investors can be a pain. Yeah. And, when you've got a duo that think the same with, ethics that you guys have around what you're trying to build here, if you get the wrong investor in, it's like having the wrong co-founder. Right, yeah. Whole conversation, investors, ultimately their general instinct, I'm an entrepreneur investor, so I like to think I'm slightly different in the sense that I've been an entrepreneur. I've started 17 companies. I know what it's like to have someone on the sidelines telling you what to do. So I personally avoid that. I'm on the sidelines to cheer you on and help you, is my philosophy. But you just got to be careful, because if, for example, you make money, an investor will be like, great, can I have a return? But you'll be maybe thinking, well, maybe we could put that into cleaning up the oceans, and you'll be like, well, I didn't get into this business for all the profit to go into cleaning up the oceans full of plastic. And you'll be like, oh, hold on a minute, we're now an investor that's not, following our ethics or moral code, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's a huge amount of ethical, decent entrepreneurs out there, but it's just something to be aware of, the pitfalls and strengths. I also think raising money, just before I get into how to maybe think about how you could raise money, the raising money piece, I mean, people say family and friends. I'm also not convinced about that. I know it's again thrown around in startup world, but I've seen it go horribly wrong within my portfolio. Right. And I think, being very clear about it is tricky. It's like having family work for you or work with you. It can work and it can't work. I mean, you've got to be very clear they can lose all their money. But unfortunately, often people end up overselling the opportunity because they want people to back them. So getting that balance right, I think, of you invest in this, high chance you're going to lose all your money. Can you afford to lose this money? Absolutely. And the family and friends, it's important for that. Now, I might be telling you some things you already know here, but I just, for the quick download of the things that I've learned over the last 20 years of this investment world, I think the other thing to keep in mind is, what your long-term aim is. So if, for example, I mean, it might sound like the dream to build this business up and IPO it, for example, that will come with a certain structure around raising money. So there will be this, pre-Series A, Series B, Series C, pre-IPO route. And there are a certain type of investors that do that sort of flow, okay? But going IPO can come again with its own downside, especially with a business like yours that has a very strong purpose to it, right? Sometimes on the open market, businesses, that your aim is to make money for the shareholders, right? So it can become very tricky if your aim is actually to clean the ocean of plastic, right? Which could be your end goal as far as refillable deodorant is concerned. It's just the beginnings of solving a much bigger problem, right? But again, I think knowing your path, I don't know if you've had a long conversation about this, but I've seen partnerships break when people say, right, well, let's now open up in Hong Kong, which is a market I know well because I lived there for a while. And then people are like, well, no, there's just, we've got a nice business here and it's a nice lifestyle. I'm enjoying it. I'm able to see my family. We're doing some good. And I like this pace. Do I want to suddenly be flying to Asia and blah, 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 and manufacturing and distribution? And the other part is like, no, hold on a minute. I want to grow this. What are we talking about? I want to, so I think having those conversations early, and I don't know if you've had those conversations, but having those conversations early is so crucial. And then ironically, it then backs into what type of investor you need.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we have chatted, haven't we? Because we've been talking to some VCs as well. And like you say, it seems once you're on that path, there's no getting off it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we both agreed that growing the company, and it's not it's not a lifestyle business for us. We want to kind of start with deodorant, but then we want people's bathrooms to be full of Fussy products and really grow the business. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just ask on the brand name Fussy? Have you trademarked it?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah. I mean, Fussy is a great name, by the way, but you know, just sure. I mean, I worry less on trademarking about someone else uses it and you've got to sue them. I mean, forget that in the early days. It's more like you don't want to build up a brand and then someone sending you a cease and desist letter saying, "Hi, we are Procter & Gamble and we own the brand Fussy."
It's funny. We learned the hard way actually, because before this we did a little side project, which was a sake, Japanese rice wine made from leftover sushi, and we called that For Goodness Sake sake, and then it turned out Diageo had the trademark and we hadn't trademarked it, and so
I know, it's so overlooked as a vulnerability in people's businesses, so I always bring it up. I'm always a bit conscious of bringing it up on air, because suddenly will someone go trademark it or something. but ultimately it's a name, it's out there, anyone can do it. I mean, I actually had an example where we built a business up and then a trademark lawyer went and trademarked our name. Instead of, you'd like to hire me to trademark your company name and just charge me a fee. I think he did this to many people. He thought it was very clever to go become a trademark squatter.
God, shameless.
And it was an absolute nightmare. So now any business, the business I've just invested in, we're literally, I'm like, let's take my money and invest in the trademark right now, and it's, people think they've got the URL, right? So they're like, it's okay, I've got the URL. You're like, and I've registered it with a company's house. Yeah. But good. That's a good name, guys. I think I'm really feeling this business.
Thanks. Yeah, it's gone down well actually, because the other thing we're trying to do is not just become, I think sustainable products all too often, they struggle to cross over into the mainstream, and because they're basically not cool enough. So we're trying to make sustainability slightly more mainstream and not just for kind of barge dwellers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. How much are you raising?
So our target is to raise 270, but what we've done is we've kind of broken that down. So we've broken that down into kind of a 40 grand to get us through a Kickstarter campaign, which will raise another 100 grand in pre-sales. And then after that, we'll look for a larger round. So we've kind of broken the 270 down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So the initial 40 would go into marketing and get our tooling underway. So we press go on the manufacturing.
Yeah, on the crowdfunding campaign, if you raise 40, pre-sales 100, does that give you enough to? It doesn't give you enough to make the product and ship it, does it?
Yeah, it would. It would. Yeah.
It would. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sales number will cover, because you've got tooling in there. If you spend 40 on crowdfunding, which I don't know if that's what you mean, but 40 on crowdfunding, sell the product, you've got to tool it, make it. I feel like you're short a little bit.
Sorry, yeah. So the 40, not all of that would go on crowdfunding.
Okay.
So a proportion of that would go on marketing, the crowdfunding, depending on our kind of acquisition cost of customers. But we've done some test Facebook ads and stuff, and we think we can get people for around £5-7 to the Kickstarter. But yeah, I think we're talking about using Kickstarter more as like just a pre-sales device, I suppose, rather than our own website, because obviously we're going to get organic traffic as well. But yeah, it's splitting the funding down like that, saying to investors, "Oh, look, we're looking for up to 270, but we're kind of breaking it down." Is that acceptable, rather than kind of trying to get it all in one big go?
Well, again, everyone's got an opinion on the rules. I've seen it done some ways. I mean, I like it personally. I just think it's about honesty, isn't it? It's about like transparency. Yeah. It's about, this is what we're thinking. I mean, ultimately, you want to raise 270. Most of the time, people say, we're raising 270 to do X. We get to this milestone, then we raise more. Or we get to this milestone and we're self-sufficient, which seems to be, the cockroach survival strategy of companies at the moment. But start thinking about the marketing side as well. And I think you could really align yourself. I keep saying a plastic ocean kind of charity that could power up your crowdfunding. support you on the marketing side because they have huge databases and a community already that might just buy the product to support the purpose, right? So yeah, I can see a marketing partnership being a lot cheaper, frankly, than the traditional route of having to promote your. I'm sure you guys have thought of this, or if not, please tell me I'm brilliant and it's a great idea.
It is brilliant and a great idea. But yeah, we have discussed it. Yeah, there's it's a charity called Plastic Bank who, rather than just kind of give a vague percentage of profits to charity, they actually give you an amount of waste that your donation will stop. So you can effectively say each deodorant will stop a kilogram of plastic entering the ocean. The problem is they're asking for a fee up front to be able to use their branding. So we're kind of debating, that money could go into other marketing. So it's kind of just trying to weigh up the opportunity cost, I guess.
No, you have to realign that one and show them that you're bringing value to them. It's the old 3 rules of a deal.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to have that. You've got to have that feeling. And I mean, I don't know enough about those guys to make a judgment call, but their purpose is to reduce plastic in the world. You guys are doing that. They should align with you, especially in the early days. Later, maybe there's some money involved, but what you really need is we're going to get behind you now because we think long term you're going to be, solving a problem we care about, right? So exactly. maybe you need to look at a different charity or kind of realign the value propositions so they see value and not just a fee from you guys. You're not a big multinational brand just doing this for PR purposes like Procter & Gamble might. Don't sue me, Procter & Gamble. But ultimately, they might. That sounds like a reply to a Procter & Gamble inquiry to me. Not from a startup. But yeah, I mean, good. You guys are thinking about that. Back to the fundraising because I think that. I quite like this idea. I think I'd like to get involved. So we should have an offline chat about what that could look like. But what I'm also always conscious of is, as an investor all over all these years, the most important thing is you find the best investors for you. Like I said earlier, it's not about me I think this is going to work. And I think if I invest in you right now, I'm going to make money. And I like the purpose, which is a big thing for me. But I think that, am I the best investor? That goes back to the plan. Yeah. And I for example, if and I do think manufacturing is going to be an important part of this. If I take 10% of your company or whatever, and I don't have a manufacturing requirement, and that's a big need for you guys, then I think that I just introduce you to an investor who's got manufacturing, which I'm happy to do. And I know someone in manufacturing very well in China. I lived in Hong Kong for 20 years, so they could perhaps help the manufacturing side. Now I see myself as a marketing guy. I think you guys have got this base covered. Just my instinct based on your background, and so I might or may not be the right investor, and I think that's very important to keep that in mind with anyone you speak to. I mean, always nice to get the money in the bank, but especially in these early days where you're beginning the process of leaving your job and starting this, you've got a bit of time. And so, really the advice I would give it, I know it's obvious advice maybe on the surface, but don't be allured by the first person that offers you money on some broadcast on online. I think that money is one piece, but making sure that they have a complementary skill set or bring value beyond just introducing you to another investor. I'll do that anyway, and any decent investor or any decent person out there will do that anyway. I'll introduce you to my manufacturing partner. I don't need anything in return. I just want you guys to succeed. What some people will say is, let me take an equity stake in you, and then I'll open up my address book and give you all this access. And I'm always wary of that. You're either going to help or you're not. And then, it's a bit like co-founders. It's kind of like, I'll start working on the business if 100% I get to own 50%. It's like, let's just work on this and see what happens. That's how I feel like investor relationships should be. Yeah, so true. Yeah, we've had some initial chats, like you say, with some people that I don't know, it's just not vibed off, I suppose. And there's been like you say, I think it's so important, isn't it? That because we want this to happen so much, you can probably get a little bit desperate. But you've got to align. Yeah, and again, I know it's really hard to transfer knowledge. I always find transferring knowledge really hard. A lot of people, including myself, I've had to go through the pain of making the mistakes myself. Getting an investor on board. First 6 months is fine. They promised a lot, they didn't deliver. Over time, it gets painful. Then they're on my back asking for updates. Then there's some, and basically, I try to help people avoid all of that. But it's quite hard because when people are raising money, they're like, well, we just met someone in the park and they said they'll give us the money. Like, oh, no.
Perhaps that's where, Eddie, we need to get down the park.
Yeah, well, you're going to Hampstead Heath, mate. You're definitely Eddie. I'm telling you right now, mate. You'll have no problem getting the money for this business. But anyway, this is where subtle humour gets. My 3-year-old can't understand that sort of joke. So the subtle humour in the background. And by the way, my son has made notes. I think everyone should see this. This is very useful. This is what you should do, apparently.
Well, a 3-year-old. Oh, great. Yeah.
I'll get it translated, but I think that's your marketing plan and how to save money plan right there.
Please send that on, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it over later. So very useful. That's what he typed up for you guys.
Love it.
But yeah, so look, it's fascinating. Maybe we should talk more. I guess as the people listening in, is anything right now? I'll put the links if you want to whatever you want around what you're doing online. But is there anything that you only want to shout out to the community and ask for?
Just sign-ups to our email. Our pre-launch list.
Yes, send the link because I only described you guys on a very vague level because I wasn't sure how much you wanted to describe.
No,
but
fair
if
enough.
you put it in the broadcast and yeah, that these things go on forever anyway. So who knows? Once it's live out there, someone might click down and sign up. So send me that. And yeah, in the meantime, let me know if there's anything else at this stage. But do maybe reach out to Talia, who I think set this up for us today, and organise an offline chat, and we can go a little bit deeper. I always throw this one out there, and I think people think I'm an owner in this platform, but there is a good platform to poke around in. It's called Angel List. Do you know it?
Yeah, we signed up last week actually. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay. That's I'm an investor in their fund, but people always think that because I'm always plugging it that I've got more involvement, but I haven't. But I do think it's quite good for founders just to see who's investing in what and see what's going on. And you can see what I've invested on there. Actually, funnily enough, a few of my investments haven't actually ever listed on Angel's List, so you never actually see them. But the point I'm making is it is a good resource to see what's going on out there. There's quite a lot of syndicates.
Okay, yeah.
And I think the sustainable syndicate movement is growing, and so that's something just to poke around and see. I always tell people just ping people and try. It's and then you can see people's Twitter and tweet them, or you can come on their live broadcast and say hello,
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because that's another thing we've been wondering is like, how do we approach these guys? Because, like yourself, because some people have said kind of don't send me a LinkedIn message, but we're like, well, we don't know anyone else. So,
there's definitely a bit of a minefield, and everyone will have a different opinion.
Yeah.
I personally, Talia, my head of operations, was just having a go at me yesterday because I've got 1,600 people that have given me a LinkedIn request that I haven't replied to. It gets a bit overwhelming, some of these platforms. Right. So, but I always feel like if you're targeting the right people, you have to have an element of persistence about it, because sometimes, even me, I sometimes miss these things, there's definitely good people in those LinkedIn requests, but because there's a few bad ones, I've let it build up. Bad ones is I don't quite know who they are. They've got a bad profile picture. What do they want from me? I don't want to get bombarded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's an element of if you guys, and I think you guys are very credible. You're very crisp. You explain what you're trying to do. Don't do long emails, to people for sure. But if you're very top line, we've got a brand called Fussy, and we're looking to solve the plastic problem in the world with our first refillable deodorant. That'll catch my attention. And sometimes I might have missed it in LinkedIn, and maybe I'll say, "Fuck off, don't send it to me on LinkedIn." But ultimately, like you say, you've got to start somewhere. There's so many rules that people tell you around this stuff that you'll hear people get introduced to an investor. That's the only way. Well, that's one way. It's not the only way, And I think persistence is very important as far as the 3 rules of getting lucky in life. Persistence is number 1, and so doing it professionally and keep having a nice branded website. If people do click through, keeping the email short, targeting the people appropriately. You follow all those rules. I'm never offended by someone reaching out to me. How else are they going to connect and get help?
Yeah.
Of course, I get people introducing people to me all the time, and that's also fine, but that's not the only way, right? So
Yeah.
I think I think AngelList is worth a ping.
Great.
I can also say that I've got other sites that I'm playing around with myself at the moment that are kind of crowdfunding sites, but like WeFunder, stuff like that. I mean, it's worth. Just be careful. Some of these things lately are trying to make people take loans.
Right. Okay.
Right.
It's worrying me a little bit since this kind of treasury is opened up around the world. You know, people are like, oh, I'll just get a loan. So some of these crowdfunding sites are starting to just like, oh, thanks for your inquiry for crowdfunding. We would like to offer you a loan. The next thing you know, your home, your life is suddenly on the line. And so, anyway, but definitely, I mean, equity crowdfunding. Have you looked at that?
No. Well, we have, but I guess one of our questions on that would be, because we're pre-revenue, is that still something that people look at? I guess that's
still what people look at. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Great. Well, we should definitely look at that then.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of those things around, some good ones. But right now they're just seeing money by also just saying, thank you for your inquiry. We can definitely consider you for crowdfunding. Here's an opportunity, have a loan, which they, they 9% on. So just watch out on that right now. But otherwise, I think that's another option for you guys for sure.
Great. Yeah, that's been really helpful. Yeah, I guess the thing that there's no rules as well has just been really helpful, because we keep thinking there's I've got to do this and then got to do that, but actually, like you say, if you're just open and honest and I think that's been really helpful. And we'll definitely drop Talia a line.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. I love it. I think what you're doing is awesome. I am looking forward to not only buying the product, but sharing what you're posting about as soon as I've got all the links.
Great. Brilliant. All right. Cheers, Simon.
Amazing.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Good
Simon.
to meet you.
Take it easy, yeah?
Bye.
Cheers.
See you. Bye. Well, fascinating. The 3 entrepreneurs we've had on this morning, and now we're going to have Niall join us, and he's going to share his story. And as always, guys, if you have any questions for me or the people that are joining, or have any comments or suggestions to help them, please feel free to comment, and we'll include you in the broadcast. But Nii, how you doing?
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Good.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is a new greeting. Handshakes are out, and can you hear me? Can you hear me is in. It's the new handshake. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
That's very true. Yeah, Simon, awesome. Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, yeah. How do we know each other? What's the connection?
So basically, I saw a friend. I was actually just scrolling down my Instagram stories and page, and your link was put up onto. Actually, your feed came up through a friend, and then I clicked on it and I checked your background a little bit, and I was like, wow, okay, cool. Now I think you would be able to give me some advice and just help me, or just direct me in terms of scaling, investing, and just trying to get the right channels to grow my startup that I started with a friend in China. So basically, that's so basically through Instagram. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Instagram. Well, don't forget, don't believe the hype. I'm not as good as I sound on Instagram, but I'll try my very best to support you. Tell me what your business is and what you need.
So basically, we're African streetwear brand, and we started our business in China. Simon, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yeah, the technology's been brilliant this morning, so I'm hoping it doesn't let us down now suddenly. But yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay. So we started our company in China, and we're an African streetwear apparel brand, and we just trying to let people really understand the African context, the African peoples through our clothing, and and that's basically what we do in a nutshell. We have various ways in which we sell, and then the basic core. If I had to just give, if I just had to tell you about our business in one statement, I'll definitely say it's a friendship brand. So my partner and I, Vickers now, we've known each other for about 18 years. We went to high school together, and then from there he took his journey, leaving South Africa and moving on to New Zealand. And I went on to the States, played some, I was a semi-professional footballer, and then I ended up in China. And then after a couple of years, we still kept in contact, and then we met in China, and we were like, wow, we don't really think Chinese people really understand what the African journey is, the African lifestyle, what we do there, what the people are like. And we sort of trying to do this Africa-China dialogue, and we said, well, we can really create something and inspire the people around us and inspire them. And we came up with a clothing brand, and it's called Chef Bear.
Say it again. So I want the audience to hear, and I want to make sure I get it right. What was the name of the brand?
Chef Bear. Chef Bear. CHE.
Yeah.
FO.
Oh, I actually wrote it down right. I'm impressed by myself. Chef
Bear.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What's the meaning behind the name?
So the meaning behind the name is really just the nicknames of my friend and I. So basically, it's actually the name came about through a story. So one day we were preparing food. I made something for him, and he didn't think I could make food or anything like that. And he was like, "Oh, you're a chef." So in South Africa, we like, if you like, my name's Nee, right? That's what everyone calls me for short. But to be more friendly or something like that, we would say Nizo, or so we just add an O to it to just round off the name. So chef, and then we said Chefo. So for somebody that we call them Chefo. And then brother, bear comes from when you're very close to somebody, we like give you like a handshake and a hug, and we would say brother bear. So that's how the name came along, Chefo Bear, from brother bear, and chef is in Chefo, and that's how it came up. And it's basically nicknames and just a very, very warm way of greeting somebody that you're very, very close to.
I like it. I've got a 3-year-old who will probably end up joining the broadcast in a minute because he's the brains of the operation. But I'm reading Mr. Men at the moment. It's driving me crazy. But when I listen to this, it sounds like a brilliant children's book to me. Could lead into a clothing brand. So completely not what the idea you're pitching to me, but just maybe as a soft marketing, it's pretty interesting. I have a friend who I actually opened up an office for my investment company in Nairobi in Africa.
Okay.
We have an entrepreneurial platform there called Meta, which is basically an entrepreneurs club. Anyway, don't worry, this is not a pitch about me, so don't worry. I'm
I'd like to check it out then.
Yeah, but basically it's interesting because one of my colleagues from that office was recently in London, and he brought me a book talking about the culture of Africa and how people live there. And my son absolutely loves this book. He pretty much wants me to read it to him every night. And frankly, anything but Mr. Men, to be blunt. So I'm also happy to read it. But anyway, I mean, just sideline. But I do think that cultural explanation, and I agree with you about China. I would argue it's similar in Africa. People don't understand China. I would also argue in London, people don't understand Americans. So it's all pretty interesting. This cultural explanation through clothing, I think is a unique idea. And I guess clothing is a very expressive thing for a lot of people. But tell me where you're at with the business. Where what do you need help with? Maybe is an easier way of putting it. What can I help you with?
So we started our business we basically launched our first product, which was a hoodie in March 2019. And since then, what we also do, and how basically one of the things that's really core to our business is we just have these events, like at least the year. We've had 3 events thus far, and basically these events are just we know that you can never really we want to try and lessen the gap or close the gap in terms of cultural diversity. So basically Vickers and I grew up in South Africa. So in South Africa, there's not a very good understanding of cultural diversity. We have a background of apartheid. So we felt that a lot of the people are very segmented still in our society. So basically what we do in these events is really just to get people from different cultures, different walks of life, different backgrounds, and we just have dialogue. And basically we as Chef Bear would host these events. So from there, we released our hoodie. We had our first event in Harbin. It's the north of China. And we then had another event in South Korea and Seoul. And then during these events, we also network with different creatives and, for example, manufacturers and things like that, and models and things like that. And then we had our most recent event in Brazil, Sao Paulo, where we also just sold our clothing. We had an event really getting to know people, really getting to know how different societies interact with each other. And then hopefully we can translate that into our, for example, currently present society or place. So for example, I'm currently in South Africa, and my partner Vickers is in New Zealand. So we would need help in terms of we at the moment trying to do our launch on Kickstarter. So we would also need funding for our new shoes that we're about to release. So we're releasing a shoe called the Ursus Kente Fellies. So it's a leather shoe. It's very well known here in South Africa, called the Fellies. And then we've stitched the Kente cloth woven into the shoe. And people that are from Accra, Ghana, from West Africa will know, for example, what the Kente cloth is. So it's just it's a fabric. It's a fabric printed cloth that is very, very well known in Ghana specifically. So we would need funding for our new shoe that we want to release, and then as well just contacts in terms of if we wanted to come to the UK or the States or anywhere to have an event. That's sort of where we would be looking for help, and mentorship as well. That's something that we know that's something that is very, very important to us. Mentorship. Somebody then give us access to market and just guide us along this journey. That's very important. So those are the 3 things: mentorship, market to access, and then funding for our Kickstarter.
Okay. Just simple stuff then. Marketing, funding, and mentorship. I think it's really interesting what you're doing. I just said this to the last guest too, and they're still in the waiting rooms. They're like, he says this to everybody. Look. But I do like the idea. I think education through clothing is really fascinating. I'm working from home today in London, and I can see a delivery guy trying to make a delivery. 1 second, and everyone's going to discover that I'm wearing shorts. That's what 1 second, otherwise the alarm dogs will bark. Hold on a sec. Okay, mate. No problem. Brilliant. Yeah, this is it. Yes. You just come in here, so I'm actually in the middle of thanks. Thank you, mate. Thanks. Sorry. Very professional of me, this is. But got a delivery. I'm the only one that can answer the front door at the moment. So, but yeah, well, I mean, I think each of your requirements, I mean, the funding, I don't know if you were listening to the previous broadcast, but I spoke a little bit about funding. I don't know if any of that was useful, so I don't repeat that. But I mean, I wonder, I guess with the shoes product, I get the point around like education through the product, but is there anything else? What would be the pitch on the crowdfunding campaign? When I mean anything else, I'm thinking about things like Tom's. You know how they do it, right? So you get one. Bella, please. I'm live. Thank you. It's my little dog deciding to bark. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what whether that question makes sense, but I'm just wondering if there's another element to it that also not only perhaps explains culture but gives back to that culture.
So I'm not 100% sure, like in terms of what the question is. Maybe can you maybe rephrase it again?
Maybe. Do you know the brand Tom's?
Yes, I do.
And you know their model, right? You buy one, get one. That kind of. But you buy one and you give one, right? So
yes.
people who don't have shoes, and you know, people love or don't love this idea, but conceptually it's pretty interesting, right? So you know, you basically you as a consumer buy a pair of these shoes. They're nice shoes, and then they give a pair to people that can't afford to have shoes. And I guess I see you having a potentially another dimension to that, which, you know, I don't think of Tom's as educating me in any way about culture. But they do have an interesting purpose that I can understand quite easily, and I'm trying to figure out, because I mean, when it comes to like funding and marketing, it's all linked, right? So there's this purpose, this why, which I think you've got there. You've definitely got there. This whole, like, people in China don't understand the culture piece. I definitely see it, but I feel like there's just one dimension missing from it. Now, I'm not saying copy the Tom's model, not at all, but I'm just wondering, you know, for example, it could be, and I'm just brainstorming maybe, or suggesting, but the leather product you just mentioned, you know, maybe, you know, it's a bit like where the coffee comes from that I'm drinking, you know, like they give you a backstory, they talk about how you buy this shoe, it helps that manufacturer, you know, it's not some mass production company in China. Now, it could be, and if it is, then you can't go down this angle, but what other than cultural education is the business also doing? And what I'm thinking on the marketing side, if there is a link to this, is, you know, CNN have this, you know, whole thing like they've been doing for the last 5 years, which is, you know, African insights, right? I don't know. I think you'd be an interesting partner with them. They sometimes, for example, highlight entrepreneurs in Africa, and they talk about you know, what's happening in this emerging part of the world. And if your business had some tie to that, you could get on CNN, and that would be your marketing done. And frankly, if you did that, you'd probably, you know, have investors ringing you. So anyway, I'm kind of brainstorming a bit there with you, but maybe you tell me. You've been working on this for a while. I know 2019 you launched it, so I'm sure you thought about everything, but I just wondered.
Yeah, no. So basically, especially with our Kente Phillies, what happens is we make it here in South Africa. So it's actually every single pair is handmade. So with that, we're our big thing is that whether we're in China or Ghana or South Africa, we really want to get the local people making each product. I think that's very important for us, so that we can create jobs. So there definitely is that element. I haven't really thought about, or I haven't really gone through the route of saying, okay, buy one get one free, or donate, or I would even maybe think like, so buy one and a certain percentage, because for example, I have a friend now, his mom's basically involved in donating school shoes to kids that are less fortunate here in South Africa. So it could definitely go into supporting something, because not everybody wants a streetwear shoe that, you know, they can't go to school with. So I would think that there's more important clothing items that we could, as Chef Aubert, pour money into. Because in our community, I'm already around that. So it's much easier to say, well, this is a need in our community. By buying a pair of Chef Aubert Fellies, a percentage of into sponsoring a kid to have shoes or a lamp or to study or something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to be careful it doesn't become a gimmick. This isn't, I think this is about something that kind of goes to your core purpose, which is interesting. Your core purpose is interesting. But I wonder, I mean, how did the hoodie sales go? Maybe we'll look at it this way. How did the hoodie sales go?
The hoodie sales went good.
Are you wearing one now?
Pardon?
Are you wearing one now?
No, I'm not.
Oh, come on. Next time.
I'm not.
No problem.
So the hoodie sales went good. Basically pretty much sold out. The only problem was we had a manufacturer in China that kind of went under because of the whole COVID situation. So we put that on hold and we channeled it into something else. So yeah, that's where we've now channeled it into our handcrafted Fellies. So we sold a couple hundred hoodies in China and a few in South Africa, in New Zealand, a few in South Korea, and then that was the lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I need to think about this. I think it's I mean, I've still got Matt and Eddie on the line. These guys are branding experts. The previous people who were on previously, they're in the waiting room listening into this. You know, I think these guys will be interesting for you to talk to too, because I think this is also a potential branding thing. I sense that you're close on this, but as I say, I don't want to say the Tom's model as a lot of people don't like the Tom's model. I would like to add, so I'm not saying that's the answer, but I feel like it's so close to something really, really exciting. It's just there's just an element just missing, the final step, and I don't want to be rude and say it's not perfect, but I see there's something not quite there. This is part of the job of a mentor, by the way. It's not to say you're brilliant, well done. Sometimes it's just to figure out exactly, you know, how you can do things better. And I also do have a slight twinge around like trying to sell hoodies in China. You know, like it's you're in South Africa, your partner's in New Zealand. You know, it is a funny old market. I lived there for 20 years, so I know. You know, me standing on the street selling hoodies in London, no problem. Me standing on the streets in Shanghai selling hoodies, you know, not that that's the way you're selling it, but just theoretically understanding the customer base. Those hoodies you sold were sold in China, right?
Yeah, because so I lived in China for 4 years before coming back to South Africa last year. So my partner Vickers he's actually going back, but because of the coronavirus, he's kind of stuck in New Zealand. That's the reason why.
By the way, I go there every December. New Zealand is amazing. Not a bad place to be stuck. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
he wants to go back to China. He misses it a lot. Yeah, I was there for 4 years, so I think I'm just taking a break, and then we'll see what happens the next year or two. And that's the reason why we started there. We also had a cool, for example, international community, which was very, very helpful and inspiring. And that is why we created the hoodies and decided to sell it in China. So that was the main reason why we started hoodies in China.
Who bought those hoodies? I want a profile. Was it friends you knew in the neighborhood and you twisted their arm, or like, you know, I want to know who those people are, because that's the base. That's like proof of concept right there.
Yeah, so I think it was so I did play football for a team in Harbin. So I had a lot of I had a lot of Chinese friends, and they had friends and things like that. So at least that was like my very, very first starting point. So they said, oh, okay, cool. This is a friend of ours. He plays for our soccer team. This is him. He's doing this. Let's jump on and support. So definitely it went from supporting from my soccer team, and it went out, and that's how people got to know us. And then we had a few media successes there. So we were in the China magazine. We came third in a pitching investor pitch called Kintier and Silk. So yeah, that's how we sort of grew our bases and in terms of revenue and then just started putting some of that back into the business, and yeah, did our event and so on.
Yeah, there's lots of things going through my mind. Slightly running out of time, but I've got a guest coming on my podcast show called Sarah Jane Ho. You can go check her out. She's on the premiere list on my YouTube page. She is friends with Gwyneth Paltrow, and she is running kind of exclusive sales channel in partnership with Tencent in China. And, you know, I can introduce you. I think before, you know, those sorts of things get triggered, there's just a pitch piece that we need to think about, I think, because, I mean, for example, I mean, it might not be the Tom's models. Let's move away from that. But you know, those people that have bought your product, what I would see is them talking, you know, about the clothes and what it's taught them. And then when, you know, like I think for myself, I'm wearing a hoodie now. If I'd known, I would have worn your hoodie. But, you know, my son is always like looking at my clothing. He's 3 and like asking me, Daddy, what's this? Daddy, what's that? You know, I love the idea of like some Instagram story thing where, or maybe Instagram in China, not the best. It works there, but it's not the best. But, you know, working with one of these social media channels there like Tencent and having a conversation with the clothing and the people that bought it and creating some sort of community conversation around clothing, you know, and I you know, that sort of thing I think could be interesting. When you're talking about, you asked about help with marketing, funding, and a bit of mentorship, you know, so I'm talking a little bit about marketing now, but I think that this would feed into funding, because if you've got a little case study there and we can drill into, now I both like and don't like the fact you've got your football team friends to buy it. I think that's a good community build, but and it's fine. But I'm also quite interested in people that will just see it and buy it, because that's how you're going to scale it, right? There's only so many people you can talk to and convince to buy a product, and so that story needs to be, you know, you're able to communicate it without you there, which I like the idea of other people doing it. I mean, beginning a bit of a theme this morning with referrals, which is my first guest conversation and people referring, but conversation, you know, a conversation around the clothing, I find that interesting. And that could be something to think about on the marketing front. Now, maybe it's, you know, just a minimum viable product could be you ping 20 people in your football team that bought the t-shirt and say, hey, would you mind throwing on the hoodie and doing a little video saying, you know, how wearing this and walking around, how people asked you about it and how it ended up educating people about culture. You know, that could be the beginnings of a pretty interesting grassroots campaign. Now, I know then you've got the problem with manufacturing and funding and all of these things. I get it, but they all feed each other. If you've got 1 million views on a video around a piece of clothing teaching about culture, it's easy to use it as a case study to demo to investors there's a need for this out in the market. And then these people become your marketing. So it all interlinks. Does what I'm saying make sense?
It does. It does. It does. It does 100%. I have my my shoes here if you want to have a look.
Totally.
Hello?
I'm listening. I'm waiting for the shoes to appear.
Are you waiting?
How are you going to do this? You're going to lift your foot up or put the shoe in the screen? You know what you should do with what happened to W. George Bush? He had a shoe thrown at him, right? And it was like headlines for weeks. You should go throw a shoe at President Trump, you know?
Yeah, no, I just think it's a good idea just to show you what the shoes look like. Since
I'm going to have the Secret Service turn up at my door in about 5 minutes saying I threatened the President of the United States. I threatened Procter and Gamble. Oh, wow. Oh, I really love it. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's the Kente fabric. And then that is the Chef Bear.
Like it.
Yeah, and then it's handmade.
I really like it. You know, when I see it, it makes me think of Paul Smith. Do you know the brand Paul Smith?
Yes.
You know, and I tell you, I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. You ping Paul Smith and say, let's do a collaboration around culture. I mean, I think it should always be a topic in this day and age, sharing cultural understanding. Someone that's lived in China, I've lived in Thailand. You know, like I'm always shocked people in London, you know, they don't understand. I say I lived in Hong Kong. They say, do you speak Japanese? I'm like, no, that's Japan. You know, like, but anyway, I mean, what I'm trying to explain is I think cultural differences. You know, my son is part Chinese, and so you know, hi buddy. So you know, the cultural stuff it resonates with me, and but I do think, you know, someone like Paul Smith, you know, he could stock your shoe and do a collaboration, and he can help you with the manufacturing. You don't need another investor. You know, he would just come on board. And, you know, just the cultural piece alone could get him, you know. And actually, when I look at your product, it looks like one of their products to me. But anyway, just you know, again, you said you wanted some marketing thoughts. So that's another one that jumps in my mind when I see the product. But it's very cool. My son is looking mischievous. He wants to press the shutdown button so that I play cars with him, I think. Don't press it.
Oh,
but anyway, I don't know if that's useful. Happy to have.
Very useful, Simon. Thank you.
Yeah, let me know if I haven't covered a base that's important to you. I did talk with Eddie and Matt in the previous podcast about funding, so maybe listen to that if you want to know more about funding. I don't want to repeat some of their advice before, but there's loads of different ways to get money. I also put up a video on YouTube, the 5 ways to raise money. And you know, it's a 10-minute video, but you know, it might be worth listening to. There are many ways to do it, and now I am working with children, which everyone says you can do.
Simon, I really I think I got a lot from this, and I think most importantly, it's mentorship, because we need it. So yeah, it was really helpful.
Cool. Well, let us know, and yeah, any cultural stuff I can teach my son, let me know. I'm always trying to teach him about other cultures. So
okay, 100%. 100%. One question: Can he speak a bit of Cantonese or Chinese by any chance?
He can speak a bit of Cantonese, right?
Okay, cool.
Leigh.
Let's see.
He wants to just shut down the computer right now. I think that's his main mission. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, lovely to speak to you, and nice to connect. And keep... Working from home is an absolute joy. Absolute joy. But nice to connect. This is.
Ready from the best.
All right.
All right.
I won't put you through the pain.
No worries, no worries, Simon. Thanks again. So in terms of keeping in contact with you, would it just be Instagram or?
I mean, why don't you have a little think about some of the things we've discussed today, and then maybe do a follow-up email and CC Talia, and we can have another chat. Try to keep things moving.
Okay, cool.
I definitely have limited time, but I want to try and help purposeful businesses, and I think you tick that box. So let's have another chat. I think you've got something. I just say, being honest, it's just not quite there for me. Maybe it's more my understanding than anything else. It could be definitely that. So let's have a longer chat about it. But I definitely think it's really interesting, and I'd like to chat to you again. So let's do that. And actually, just a final shout out. If you need anything from my community, can they actually buy anything from you right now? Is there anything that my community can do to support you?
Yes, they can. I mean, if they go to our website, there's still 1 or 2 tweaks that we're doing on this week, and just preparing for our launch of our Ursus Kente Fellies. So they're more than welcome to hit us up. We'll only be making 50 because all of them are all handmade. So there'll be pre-orders, and if they are interested, please, would love them to support us with our new product called the Ursus Kente Fellies.
Okay, well, send me the links. I'll put it in the bottom. And the entrepreneurs out there, a lot of my audience, I'm also trying to help people start a business of their own. So if they're smart, they'll buy all 50 of those and then basically resell them as exclusive one-offs and charge 3 times more and donate a bit of that money to charity. And they've just created a business back of your business. So anyone listening, you know, there's opportunity inside opportunity. Thanks, Niall. Please send the link. I'll add it to the broadcast. And thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Real pleasure to connect. Enjoy South Africa. I want to come and visit.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome. And enjoy London.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I will. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Cheers. Bye.
See you. Bye. All right, folks. That's the 4 entrepreneurs I have for you today. I found their insights fascinating, their business ideas exciting. I hope you did too. If you feel you can help these entrepreneurs in any way, feel free to very similar problems around marketing, fundraising, and so on. So sometimes these broadcasts can be useful to a friend of yours, if not to you. If you think I missed anything or missed a point or got something wrong in my advice to these entrepreneurs today, I also like feedback. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 30 years, but I'm still learning. So if there's anything you think that I could add to my insights that I didn't today to help entrepreneurs, please feel free to let me know. Equally, if you know anyone that needs some help, I'm going live for free as often as I can to help people that need the support right now to start a business or grow a business, especially a business with purpose. And even out there, there are many people with good businesses that don't yet have that deep purpose, and we can help them build a business with purpose. That's what drives me. I left school at 15 and started my own business and didn't have help. I'm now really ultimately helping the 15-year-old me, although you'll see today, you know, there's a wide range of age groups that need help when it comes to building purposeful businesses. But I'm doing this because I'm now helping the 15-year-old me. And so if you know anyone that needs help, please feel free to reach out. If you think this broadcast is useful, please share it. If you have any views, comments, please do feel free to share. I always reply to comments. And each of the guests I've had on today have an interesting product and a story. Please do click through to their links, say hello to them on social media, and connect and share a bit of love. I mean, it really costs nothing just to hit a heart on one of these entrepreneurs' social media pages and say you appreciate what they're trying to do and appreciate their purpose. It would mean the world to them, I know, and it would mean the world to me too. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy it and have a purposeful series of activities today. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.